This is Kerofsky from the Timothy Kerofsky and Family Channel. I have no notebook out. I'm going to be talking from experience of what I know about the martial arts of 42 years of martial arts training. Yeah, I have 42 years, but there's other people that have 50 years. There's other people that have more. But that is quite a bit of an experience in the martial arts. And you know my martial arts history, if you follow my channel, that I started training in 1976. Because I trained with under the tutelage of Jess Mills, under Robert Allen Trias, which was his master, who would come and visit. Of course, when I went to Long Beach, California, I trained in American Kinpo under the tutelage of Grandmaster Ed Parker, under the instruction of Edward Booz, and then did some Hung Gar under Master Lo Wong. Traveling around the world and doing some training in Japan with the masters in Japan, Master Senkoshi. Of course, and then when I got stationed on the East Coast, I did a little bit of Taekwondo, and then I went full circle and went back into the roots of karate, but in a different system of karate, Shinjuru Kinpo karate. With all that said, that's a lot of experience in the martial arts. And this subject is traditional versus sport karate. Now when karate started, karate itself, in Okinawa, karate in itself, okay, I'm not talking about, I'm going to go with karate. I'm not going to talk about the history of all these other styles. It'll be a long video. Alright. But karate itself, as you know, came from Okinawa. First the Okinawan studied Tugumi, which was a form of wrestling. And then they learned Tei from Master Tori Sagawa. And then karate started to spread. And then in Japan, after World War II, and the roots of karate got really deep-rooted in Japan, from Okinawa, most of the works of Gisha Funakoshi, who was invited there by the Japanese Minister of Education. He taught karate to school children. Up until that time frame, traditional karate was used for, it was a combat art. It was used for self-defense. Like they say in the Karate Kid, karate for self-defense only. So the roots of karate is about defending oneself, okay? It's about character building and spiritual and mental well-being, okay? But when the Japanese, karate, after the war, and they how you say that, got rid of some of their forces through the treaties from the United States, and karate started becoming more sports-oriented, okay? The tournament stuff started coming around, you know, the late 60s through, you know, with the internationals in 1964, I want to say, the first internationals in the United States, whom Bruce Lee was a special guest at the first internationals in Long Beach, California. even then, you still had some of the tradition in vigorness. The internationals back then were much different than they are today, which is more and more sports and flashy oriented. And it's really drifting that way. It's more drifting into like a gymnastic type type sport, and that's what it's drifting into. And I did some gymnastics, and I tell you, I love gymnastics. It's very hard to do. It when it makes one limber and makes one limber and flexible, and being able to tumble, and it really makes one strong. And trust me, some of that stuff they do in the sport karate, Killing Whaley, for example, in her sport karate. Some of the stuff is hard to do. You're spinning, you're twisting, you're jumping, you're doing cartwheels, and acrobats. And it is hard to do, but you're not going to use that on the street in a real life combat or a real life street situation when a mugger's coming behind you. You're not going to say, okay, hold on, let me step back a few steps so I can do a cartwheel and kick you. It ain't going to happen, And what I'm saying is, there has to be a difference. When people are training at a particular school, they have to know if it's a sport karate school or a traditional karate school, because they're going to teach you two totally different skill sets. Sports karate is going to teach you, the tumbling, the acrobats, and all that type of stuff. But traditional karate is going to teach you self-defense, spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. They're going to teach you two totally different things. And at the tournaments, they need to separate that, because even what Bruce Lee said, karate is becoming nothing but flashy jazz. And it's true. And it's even more so today than it was during his time. A lot more so today. And when they go to those tournaments, and I wrote some letters, and I'm like, I'm begging these people, like, separate the difference. Do sport karate kata, forms kata, and traditional karate forms separately, because the sports karate stuff's going to get all the points from all that flashy stuff it does, while the traditional stuff's not going to get the points, because they're trying to judge them both the same, and you can't judge them both the same. You have to judge the traditional stuff, on that posture, on that that stance, the movement, the power, the technique it shows. While you judge the sports stuff on like they do with gymnastics, the how high you fly, and how that cartwheel looks, so to speak, or that artistic ability. It's two different skill sets, but they try to judge it the same. But there's a major difference between sports karate and traditional karate. And Bruce Lee, I don't know, he's probably looking down, shaking his head down from heaven, like, what the heck, that ain't the way it's supposed to be. No. I mean, nothing against Ed Park when he started the tournaments, and then, became a point system. Of course, Chuck Norris, he competed in a lot of those tournaments. He was undefeated from, I have that in my notebook, but he was undefeated for close to 10 years in tournaments. But they know the difference between what is sport in their system in this style and what is not sport in this style. What is used for self-defense and what is used for what they do in sparring, for example. There's two different things that they even do then, than even those people did, and even what Chuck Norris did. But now people now they don't distinguish that difference, and people are gonna be in a rude awakening when they're walking down the street. Like, oh, ooh, there's a murder. I don't want to repeat a dead horse, but what did I say before? Wait a minute, I gotta step back so I can do a cartwheel. No, you're gonna be shot. So I think I made my point. There's a major difference between sports karate and tournament karate. See you later, hon. I was leaving, heading to work. It's 15:49. It's Monday evening, afternoon. This is my video for Wednesday, and but I understand how it came about. From that long lineage of the karate itself, and then how it became sports oriented when it went to Japan, and then after the war they didn't need it anymore for combat, so it became more sports oriented, and then that sports karate started to spread, and now it's like big. But there still has to be a distinguish between the two, especially in tournaments, especially in the kata competition, because they can't be judged the same. And that's all I got to say about that. This is Timothy Kerofsky, 8th degree black belt in Shunjuru Kempo. Masters in Arts and Sociology, Studies in Theology. Kosher Kerofsky. What else can I say? Then we'll test an old man with karate skills. My shirt. Wearing that shirt again. I think it's a perfect shirt to wear for this video. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you think about this subject. Blessings always.